The 16-17 season was a good year for Real Madrid as they won the Champions League for the second year in a row and won La Liga for the first time since the 2011-12 season. But after that, Real Madrid has struggled in La Liga. They won the Champions League one more time, but they've come more than 17 points behind Barcelona in the following two seasons. So in this video, I'm going to look to explain why that is and what I think Real Madrid can do to fix that problem. So without any further ado, let's go. After Real Madrid won the league, in the following seasons, they made mistakes by selling some of their top players. So some players they let go were Morata, Rodriguez, Dani Ceballos, Kovacic, Raul de Thomas, Marcos Llorente, Pepe, and last but not least, Cristiano Ronaldo. So out of all these players, I think Cristiano Ronaldo was probably the biggest let go and the one they made the biggest mistake on. But starting with the players before him who left right after they won the league, Morata, Rodriguez, and Pepe. So these players were very important. Morata was the Real Madrid's #1 striker in the year they won the league, so letting him go in place of Benzema probably wasn't the best choice for Real Madrid. Also, James Rodriguez, he added some more goal-scoring threat, seeing he scored around 10 to 11 goals that season, so adding more goals to Real Madrid's league count is always a good thing, and when you take out a good attacking player who helps you win the league, then you're going to have some problems. Pepe is another veteran player on Real Madrid, and he was an excellent defender. He was getting old, but with Ramos and Varane still at the club, it wouldn't hurt just keeping him as a backup center back, especially because he's very experienced and he's still a good player and can still play at the highest level. But Real Madrid let him go, and the main problem with it is that they did not look to sign a replacement. And before I forget, Real Madrid also let Mariano Diaz go that league winning season too. And at the time, he was a very promising youngster, and he went on to score 18 goals for Lyon in his debut season for them. So Real Madrid let these players go and then did not replace them or look to buy players of similar quality to back up the first team. The president of Real Madrid later claimed that Madrid wanted to change, so they wanted to change the squad and basically change the style of play and improve by signing young talent for the future. So Real Madrid, they made this claim, but it seemed kind of weird because, as stated before, they did let players like Raul de Thomas, Marcos Llorente, and a few other players leave. So Raul de Thomas and Marcos Llorente were two good players from Real Madrid's academy that were playing well in last season. I'd say Marcos Llorente was probably Real Madrid's best midfielder last season. And I'd say Raul de Thomas, he had a really good loan spell at Rayo Vallecano. They did get relegated, so that's unfortunate, but he did do it with 14 goals. So I was really hoping to see him come in, maybe as a second striker to whoever was going to be the main striker at Real Madrid. But Real Madrid sold him to Benfica, and Raul de Thomas, Marcos Llorente, Real Madrid sold to Atletico. So those are two good players for Real Madrid who I do think can become even better players in the future that Real Madrid just let go. And that's something I really don't understand. They want to invest in the future, but they don't want to use the players already at the academy who are playing well. And it's just something I don't understand with Real Madrid. Some players like Lucas Vazquez or Marco Asensio, they're talented players who aren't that consistent for Real Madrid when they get to play. But players who are consistent and do well seem to always get kicked out. Similar to Morata, who was at Real Madrid's academy, but Real Madrid sold him, bought him back. He was the best striker Real Madrid had when they won the league, and they sold him again. So Real Madrid doesn't seem to be too smart with their signings. And also, I did mention they let Ceballos and Kovacic go. Kovacic they let go first, they let him go to Chelsea on loan, and then they let Chelsea sign him. And Dani Ceballos, they just let go to Arsenal on loan. So Real Madrid isn't being too smart with their transfers. They are weakening their side by letting go of their squad depth and letting go of good players in favor of players who've been on the team and aren't really maintaining consistency. I mean, Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric they are Real Madrid's main midfield trio, and they are very inconsistent, and they seem to stay out of form whenever they play for Real Madrid. I mean, sometimes they do have good games, but they're very inconsistent, and it's really hard for Real Madrid to depend on them. So, wrapping up what I don't understand about Real Madrid's transfer market or transfer dealings in the market, based on what they've done so far. Letting Ronaldo go, I did bring it up, but I didn't talk about it. Ronaldo's a great player, but just because Real Madrid let him go doesn't mean it's the end of the world. There are other players they can sign to replace him, but they didn't. They just brought in Vinicius Jr., Dani Ceballos, and Thibaut Courtois. So I believe those were the 3 players Real Madrid brought in. They might have brought in Ceballos a season earlier. Don't remember too rightfully, but I know those players did come in. So first of all, I don't see why Madrid needed to sign another keeper. Navas was very good, and when you sign one of the best strikers in the world, or when you sell one of the best strikers in the world, you should be looking to replace him. Now Vinicius looks like he could be a promising star, but you can't expect him to score 50 goals a season right now. If he is going to do that in the future, it'll probably be at least 3 or 4 more years before he can even get to that level. But he's not someone you can depend on for imminent success. And that leads me to my next point. Real Madrid's president wanted to focus on building the club's future, and his idea of building it was to sign a few young players and say that Real Madrid didn't want to just sign the best big players on the market. Yet somehow we still see strong links linking Real Madrid to signing Neymar for 200 million, or Mbappe for 200 million, or Pogba for 150 million. I mean, Real Madrid are being very hypocritical. They claim they don't want to break the bank anymore to sign good or the biggest name brand players, but that's exactly what they're doing. And if the point is to sign good players, there are plenty of other players that they could have signed for much less. For example, Nicolas Pepe. He went to Arsenal for 70 million. He would be less than twice the amount of Mbappe, and would probably be, let's say, 80% as good as Mbappe would have been on Real Madrid. He scores plenty amount of goals, he takes on players, he's a very pacey player. He would have been an excellent player on Real Madrid. You could have Hazard on the left and Pepe on the right. They could have signed Memphis Depay. He would be another option who would be a lot cheaper. They could have signed Milinkovic-Savic, or Ciro Immobile, or Van de Beek, or Floven Toven, or Piontek, who left for AC Milan in the winter. So I'm pretty sure if he had the option, he might have chosen Real Madrid over AC Milan if he had the chance. I mean, there are just so many good players Real Madrid could have signed for a way cheaper price tag, and who are younger and more energetic than the squad they have available to them, but they don't do it. And Real Madrid just doesn't make sense. I mean, other teams like Barcelona, they picked up players like Malcolm, Arthur, Longley. I mean, they constantly change the squad, and I'm not a Barca fan. And every time I see Barcelona play, there's always someone on the team that I have no idea who they are. Because Barcelona always wants to try something new. If something's not working in the team, they change it and it works out. I do think Barca has gotten worse over the past few seasons. Even though they are winning the league by a lot of points, I do think because Real Madrid isn't doing well, the league is just that much easier for them. But at least Barcelona keeps trying something new, and they are trying to fix the team. But that's not the same for Real Madrid. Real Madrid has kept the squad the same. They've signed some players this season, and players like Mendy, Militao, they're good players, and I think they will have good careers at Real Madrid. But some of them aren't even getting the time of day. I mean, Militao has yet to start in La Liga this season, and I think I would start him over Ramos, because Ramos isn't looking like he used to, and he isn't playing the way he should, in my opinion. Also, players like Cruz, Casemiro, and Modric. I really think Real Madrid should have looked to get other midfielders to rotate them. Loaning Ceballos out to Arsenal was a bad choice, because now the only backup player they have to the trio would be Isco and Valverde, and they are both good players, but just having those two isn't gonna look good, especially since Zidane still wants to start his main trio, and I don't see that changing, because that's kind of how he's played it. I do see Modric maybe playing less games, and I think throughout the season he probably will end up hitting the bench, because he is looking kind of limited and not as good as he used to be. But other than that, Real Madrid's midfield still needs to be fixed. I think Real Madrid's just transfer policy overall, and the way they pick players and decide on which players to buy, needs to be overlooked and changed, because whoever is in charge of it, whether it's the manager, the coach, or the president, it's just not working. Especially because Zidane wasn't able to sign his number one target, which was Paul Pogba. So we don't know what happened there. Maybe Real Madrid just didn't figure it out, just didn't plan well enough for it. but the fact that there's still some issues, especially because I wanted James Rodriguez and Bale to go, and personally I disagree with that because they still need those attacking options. But you can kind of see there's still issues with Real Madrid's transfers and who's in charge of it and who's pulling the strings. So I think those are some main issues. So overall, I think the main problem with Real Madrid's transfers, to sum up the video, is they're signing the wrong players and selling the wrong players. They're selling players who are good, talented players who came from the academy. And personally, I love to see academy players actually be on the first team, but Real Madrid is selling them. And players like Raul Thomas, I really wanted to see him on Madrid this season, but we're not going to get that chance. And Marcus Llorente, he went to our rival, so I'm really not happy about that. But it is what it is. I think Real Madrid will learn from that eventually, but rotating the squad is something they really need to do, and maybe signing some cheaper alternatives like Memphis Depay, Clement Toven. Nicolas Pepe would have been great, but he went to Arsenal. Milinkovic-Savic, he's still a good midfielder, and if Real Madrid can't sign Pogba, I think he would be an excellent addition to Madrid instead. And Van de Beek would also be another addition because he's a very good player and was part of a good successful Ajax team. So that's my video, basically just saying some problems I have with Real Madrid's transfer policies and basically the team overall and what I think they need to improve. So tell me what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers, mates.